These now give rise to the motivation of bodhicitta, the thought, I will establish all mother beings, limitless in number as the vast reaches of space, at the level of perfect, complete enlightenment. To that end, I will listen to this profound Dhamma and put it into practice. At the same time, please rouse the profound outlook of the Vidyadharas, the vast skillful means that is the acknowledgement that all phenomena are primordially and originally the nature of the five perfections. The teaching that we are looking at today is the undisputed treatise composed by the great master Padmasambhava, the Lotus-born one, his fifth instruction entitled A Garland of Views. This text is comprised of three main parts, the virtuous beginning, middle and end, namely the introduction, the main body of the text, and the conclusion. We have completed the introduction. We're now looking at the main body of the text, which is comprised of an explanation of, or a presentation of non-Buddhist views, and also Buddhist views. We've covered the non-Buddhist views. We're now looking at Buddhist views. And this presentation is comprised of a brief introduction and a more extensive explanation. We've covered the brief introduction. We're now looking at the extensive explanation, which itself has two main subdivisions, an extensive explanation of the vehicles of characteristics and an extensive explanation of the tantric vehicles. We've covered the first. We're now looking at the second, the tantric vehicles, which itself is divided into three, an explanation of Kriya Yoga, Upa Yoga, and Kriya Tantra, Upa Tantra, and Yoga Tantra. We've covered Kriya and Upa, and then we moved on to Yoga. Yoga itself has two further divisions, outer yoga and inner yoga, and we're looking at inner unsurpassable yoga, the detailed explanation of which is divided into one, a general explanation of these three methods, and two, a specific explanation of the avenues for applying these. So, in the general explanation of these three methods refer to Maha Yoga, Anu Yoga, and Ati. We've covered the first two, the generation stage, the completion stage, and we're now looking at the great perfection, Ati Yoga. The explanation of Ati Yoga itself is comprised of two parts. First of all, an explanation of the meaning or the view, and secondly, the method. We've discussed the meaning or the view, and we're now looking at the method. So we have reached really the most vital point of the teaching, the most vital point of the text, an explanation of the great perfection, which is the vital point, as the text explained at the beginning, as we discussed earlier on in the teachings. All phenomena are shown to be the great perfection. All phenomena, outer and inner without exception. The external phenomena of form, sounds, smells, and so on and so forth. The internal phenomena of our five aggregates, inner elements, and so on. All of these phenomena are the great perfection, none other than the great perfection, that is their primordial original nature. It's so important that we understand this, that we understand that all appearances arise from the expanse of awareness. We need to understand this, otherwise we'll end up struggling, just like someone asked me recently, in the Vajrayana teachings it said whatever we experience we need to perceive it as the Buddha, so when we feel a cool breeze on our face, when we touch something or we feel heat or what have you, we need to think, oh, this is the Buddha. But how? How is it the Buddha? So this is a very genuine question. If we're not aware of the reason, the how and why for all phenomena being Buddha, then it is very difficult to adopt this outlook. If we don't understand the instructions, the vital points as presented in profound treatises like this, the Garland of Views, if we're not aware of how and why all phenomena are the creative display of Rigpa, then it'll be very difficult to perceive all phenomena as Buddha, to understand how they are Buddha. So we need to understand how all phenomena are Buddha in one of two ways. So either we need to generate trust in the authoritative scriptures like the Guyagaba Tantra, this text, the Garland of Views, and so on. These texts are the direct words of the Buddhas, Buddha Samantabhadra, Buddha Vajradhara, and so on, and their words are undeceiving, they are unmistaken, they are authentic and completely true. There's a lot to say actually about how we validate the words of the Buddhas as true, as authentic, but we won't go into those details now. So either one needs to have a complete trust in the words of the Buddha and these authentic texts, or we need to have trust in logic, in the various lines of logic, or we could say the scientific methods, if we wanted to use a more modern term, that establish how and why all things are pure, how and why all things are enlightened. If we lack trust in either of these two, the authoritative scriptures or the scientific method, then we, of course, will not have any kind of understanding of how it is that the wind, the water, and so on are all Buddha, and we'll end up quite kind of bewildered and confused. So it's important to have an understanding. At the outset, it is vital that we come to understand how all appearances, meaning all phenomena we experience, are the self-display of Rigpa, or the natural manifestation of Rigpa. Kondrol Yuntin Gyatso said in his commentary on the Garland of Views that at the outset, generally, it is vital to understand that all things are self-display, all appearances are self-display, that they are the essence of primordial wisdom. And he goes on to say, when we say that they are the essence or nature of wisdom, we're not talking about common wisdom. What do we mean by common wisdom? Like the wisdom that sees the true nature of things, the wisdom that sees all things in their multiplicity, and so on. Generally speaking, we can talk about 5 types of wisdom, or jnana, right? So Kondrol Rinpoche clarifies we're not talking about that kind of wisdom, but self-existing wisdom, the wisdom of self-existing awareness. So we need to recognize that all appearances are the self-display of self-existing wisdom, self-existing awareness, and if we can understand that, then we can come to understand the state of the great perfection, the nature of the great perfection. But failing to understand that, then we remain just as we are, embroiled in attachment and aversion, attachment to our friends, aversion to enemies, attachment to pleasant sense objects, good taste, smells, and so on and so forth, and consumed, immersed in such affliction. But when we come to understand that all appearances are nothing other than the self-display, the natural manifestation of self-existing wisdom, well then all such dualities, all such polarities of friend and enemy, pure, impure, clean, unclean, and so on, will naturally be equalized. And if we reach that point, we gain such an experience, then we can say that we are a true great perfection practitioner with an understanding of how all appearances are the self-display of self-existing wisdom. So as I said, either we need to generate conviction, certainty, in this, the fact that all phenomena are self-display, either by developing conviction in conviction or trust in the authoritative scriptures, the words of Buddha Vajradhara, and so on, scriptures like the Vuyagarbha Tantra. And by cultivating such trust in those authoritative scriptures, then we can develop confidence in the fact that yes, all phenomena really are self-display. A real conviction then will arise in us that, okay, the nature of all things, earth, water, and so on and so forth, all phenomena really is Buddha. These phenomena really are Buddha. And then we can understand that whether samsara appears or nirvana appears, whether water appears or the goddess Mamaki appears, whatever appears, it is all self-display. It is all equally self-display. The point is, or the dividing line is, whether we recognize phenomena to be self-display or not. Failing to recognize things to be self-display, then we will perceive water as, then we'll see water, not goddess Mamaki, and we'll perceive samsara, not nirvana, right? But if we directly recognize and realize all phenomena to be self-display, then water will be seen as goddess Mamaki, and samsara will be experienced as nirvana, right? In any case, even now, while we are still in samsara, in a state of delusion, we can generate certainty in the truth of the fact that all things really are self-display, all things really are Buddha. And then when we feel a wind, cool wind on our cheek, then we can think, okay, at present I'm experiencing this as a cool wind, but in reality, this wind is actually Samayatara, the female Buddha Samayatara. When we feel some cold water, we can feel confident that, okay, I'm currently experiencing this as water, but in reality, this is goddess Mamaki. So even though we haven't directly realized this, and this is not our direct experience, we can generate the certainty that in reality this is how it is. And indeed, this is how we must proceed, first of all by developing an understanding of reality, and then gradually familiarizing ourselves with that. So that was with reference to having confidence, having trust in the authoritative scriptures, right? So now we'll turn our mind to logic, or we could say scientific method, as Rinpoche suggested. More kind of common translation would just be logic. So here I'm going to, at the beginning of this extensive explanation of the Great Perfection in our text, I'm giving this more detailed, more thorough explanation of the main points, right? And once I've completed this explanation, then we'll turn to the text, and I'll move quite quickly through the next 9 or so pages of text. Once you have an understanding of these main points that I'm explaining now, then you will be able to make sense of the following 9 or 10 pages. One issue is, as ever, we are lacking in time, right? So this is how I'm going to proceed. Okay, so how do we establish the fact that all phenomena are pure using logic? Well, we can do this following the approach of the sutras, the vehicles of characteristics, and also following the approach of Tantra, the Vajrayana. So first of all, let's look at the approach of the sutras, the vehicles of characteristics. In all of the teachings of sutra, it is explained that all phenomena, without exception, inner, outer, the elements of earth, fire, water, wind, the inner aggregates, elements, constituents, and so on, they are all emptiness. All phenomena in being empty are pure. Because phenomena are emptiness, because they are void of true nature, establishment, because they are beyond conceptual constructs, beyond elaboration, therefore they are emptiness, and because they are emptiness, they are pure. Emptiness is described as the basic space of phenomena, the state of cessation or nirvana, the transcendence of anguish. This is how it's more typically described by the Sautantrika and Vaibhashika, the lower tenet systems, and the Madhyamaka. Emptiness is described as this state of simplicity, beyond elaboration. And when we look at the sort of higher teachings of the vehicles of characteristics, then emptiness is also said to be unconditioned. In any case, all phenomena are established as emptiness in the vehicle of characteristics, and this emptiness is realized by all followers, all sutra practitioners, the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas. They all realize to some extent that all phenomena are emptiness. And again, in this context, emptiness is understood to be the ultimate, consummate state of all things. There are so many lines of reasoning that establish without any doubt all phenomena to be emptiness. For instance, in Mipham Rinpoche's Sword of Wisdom, we find so many infallible forms of logic and valid cognition to establish emptiness and purity. But we won't go into all of that now. That's more the domain of Buddhist scholars, Khenpos, and so on. So, in the approach of the sutras, the vehicles of characteristics, all phenomena are established as pure because they are emptiness, right? Because all things are empty, lacking establishment, beyond elaboration, therefore they are pure. So from there, in terms of their essence, from the perspective of their essence, their empty essence, they are understood as pure. And this being the case, since all phenomena are emptiness, and from their essence pure, then all phenomena are understood to be pure. Water, earth, the aggregates, and so on. They are all emptiness, and so they are all pure. We think, of course, that things exist, like I think, oh, I am Pema Rigsel, you are so-and-so, this is this, that is that. But all of these notions are just confused notions. They're just imputations, or we could say imagination, the imagination of a confused mind. In reality, everything, earth, water, fire, wind, and so on, the aggregates, elements, sense fields, all phenomena without exception are emptiness, and therefore they are pure. And as I said, this can be established through many different types of reasoning. The reasoning that refutes the various types of arising, also the reasoning of the true nature of things. In short, all phenomena are established without any doubt to be emptiness and in essence pure. There are 4 lines we find in one of the Sutras of Definitive Meaning that First of all, they're incredibly profound and rich in meaning. Rongso Mahapandita takes these 4 lines and explains them in enormous depth and detail. To paraphrase these 4 lines, they state, all phenomena without exception are unborn, and being phenomena that are unborn are suchness, meaning they are Buddha. So what's being said here is that there is nothing that is not emptiness. Earth, water, fire, wind, mountains, forests, your house, you yourself, your environment, inhabitants, everything is emptiness. There's not a single thing that is not emptiness. And all of these phenomena, being empty, are Buddha. They are all Sugata, or the Tathagata. All phenomena, the next line reads, are Buddha. So this all phenomena includes samsara, nirvana, good, bad, Buddhas, sentient beings, and so on and so forth. So this is just a paraphrasing rather than a strict translation of these lines, but we can see how profound and rich in meaning they are. And so in this way, we can see that in the approach of Sutra, the vehicles of characteristics, all phenomena are established to be Buddha in this way. Then we have the approach of the Vajrayana, the tantric vehicles, where all phenomena are established to be Buddha, not just in essence, but actually in terms of their appearance as well. So the very appearance of all things is established to be Buddha, is established to be pure. So we can see, therefore, that even in the sutras, the vehicles of the characteristics, all phenomena are indeed shown to be Buddha. This is established, or this is demonstrated in the sutra teachings. However, it is not demonstrated openly. It is a teaching that is kept secret. So it is established, indeed, it's established through the logic of the nature of things, but it is not openly taught in the sutra context because it is something secret. Indeed, it is a teaching that belongs to the secret mantra, right, the Vajrayana. So in the Vajrayana, then, we find even more lines of logic that establish all appearances to be boundless purity. All appearances without exception are established to be boundless purity. And if you want to look at those various lines of logic, well, you can look at Rongso Mahapandita's establishing appearances as divine, his entering the way of the great vehicle, and also Mipham Rinpoche's beacon of certainty, amongst other texts. But to demonstrate this, I'm going to tell a story that we actually find in the sutra teachings, because I know all of you like stories, and stories are a very good way of illustrating points and principles. So, in the past, during Buddha Shakyamuni's time, there was a person called Tsangpa Rinpoche who visited Buddha's Shakyamuni's realm. He came from another world, and he visited Buddha Shakyamuni and his area. So Tsangpa Rinpoche got into a discussion with Shariputra, who, as you know, is one of Buddha Shakyamuni's best students. Shariputra said to Tsangpa Rinpoche, he said, Buddha Shakyamuni's realm it's so impure, it's unclean, and look at the landscape, it's thorny and rocky and uneven, and look at Buddha Shakyamuni's students, they're impure, they're not highly developed. Even Buddha's form is small, and so on. So Shariputra was describing his perception, and when Tsangpa Rinpoche heard this, he said, no, how can you say that? Buddha Shakyamuni's realm, this realm that we're in right now, is not like that at all. This is a absolutely perfect pure realm, no different from the Eastern pure realm of perfect joy. The environment itself, the teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, the retinue of students, all of these are absolutely pure. So these two students got into quite a heated debate about this, and they took their debate to Buddha Shakyamuni. How did Buddha Shakyamuni respond to this question of, is your realm pure or impure? Well, he responded by displaying a miracle, or we could say displaying a miracle, and revealing the realm, his realm, we could say his environment, to be as pure and divine as the Eastern pure realm of perfect joy. He revealed this to Shariputra, and not just Shariputra, but all of the other students. They all saw this vividly with their own eyes, and they were amazed. Buddha Shakyamuni then asked Shariputra, so, now what do you think? Is my realm, the realm of Buddha Shakyamuni, pure or not? Buddha Shakyamuni said to Shariputra, do you see this? Do you see this display? And Shariputra said, yes, I do. And Shakyamuni then said, well, this is what my realm is like. This is what Buddha Shakyamuni's realm is like. It's no different from this. This is exactly it. What you're seeing is it. Then Buddha Shakyamuni continued to explain. He said, take the example of someone who is born blind. That person will never have seen the sun shining in the sky, will they? But is that the fault, or is that the fault of the sun, or the fault of the blind person? Meaning, is the issue with the sun, or is the issue with the blind person? Well, Shariputra responded, well, yes, the issue is with the blind person, because of course the sun is shining. The fact that a blind person cannot see that is not a fault of the sun. It doesn't mean that the sun's not shining right, it just means they're not capable of seeing it. So likewise, Buddha explained, it's just like that. Buddha Shakyamuni's realm is always pure, it is originally pure, but you cannot see it, and that is not the fault of the realm. It is your own fault, your own shortcoming. So in this way we can see in the vehicle of characteristics too, all phenomena are established to be pure. This is demonstrated. Why do we see this difference in perception? Shariputra, who could not perceive Buddha Shakyamuni's realm as pure, and then on the other hand Tsongpa Rinpoche, who could. Well, the difference lies in the presence or absence of karmic obscurations, how thick, how dense one's karmic obscurations are, and the degree to which one has purified those obscurations or not. As one's obscurations, one's veils are worn away and purified and become less and less, lighter and lighter, well then one's perception becomes purer and purer, and one is able to see phenomena as pure. One is able to see the purity of phenomena correctly, more and more correctly, more and more accurately. So where does the difference, what is one of the differences we find in the Vajrayana vehicle, one of the distinguishing features? Well, it's the fact that through the methods that the Vajrayana provides us with, like the generation stage, condition stage, the great perfection and so on, we're able to purify our karmic obscurations and enact transformation so swiftly and efficiently that we can transform our perception from impure to pure very fast, and in that way we can reach enlightenment very fast, even within 3 years, within a period as short as 3 years. Of course, that's a pretty rare and rare case in referring to very highly developed individuals, but nevertheless, it is possible. Another very important point and clarification here. So, what do we mean by the view? Well, Mipham Rinpoche made a very crucial distinction here. He distinguished between the view and between mere belief. And to describe what is meant by belief, he referred to those who train in a semblance of emptiness in order to take rebirth, and as a result take rebirth as a god in the formless realm. So such beings, they meditate thinking everything is emptiness, everything is emptiness, with eyes closed and just insisting, just telling themselves again and again everything is emptiness, trying to convince themselves that everything is emptiness. The result of such a meditation is, well, it does lead one to a kind of a sense, a state where everything is felt to be emptiness, yes, and that then leads to rebirth in the formless realms. But this is really merely an imagination, right? An imagination of emptiness. It's not an understanding of emptiness. So such a person meditating in this way might, with their eyes closed, repeat to themselves again and again, everything is emptiness, and after some point they might actually get the sense that, everything has disappeared or become void. But if they open their eyes again, well, they're going to see the pillar and the vase and everything before them just as it was before. Likewise, if we might close our eyes and tell ourselves, I have no enemies, I have no enemies, I have no enemies, we might be able to convince ourselves for a bit and get this feeling that, oh, I have no enemies, I have no one who dislikes me. But if we open our eyes, then we will be faced once more with our enemies, right? So Mipham Rinpoche explains, just imagining nothing, just imagining non-existence is not the view. he makes this clarification. So just imagining, say, that iron is gold, just telling yourself, oh, this piece of iron is gold, or this rock is gold, that doesn't make the rock gold, does it? That is just an imagination. Mipham Rinpoche then, on the other hand, describes the Madhyamakas. He said that Madhyamakas see or we could say they understand all phenomena to not exist. That seeing, that understanding is the view. On the other hand, just this kind of insistent imagination that everything is non-existent, everything's emptiness, that is not the view. That is simply imagination. The Madhyamakas who establish and come to understand and engender certainty in the fact that all phenomena really are empty, they do not exist, they lack reality, they are emptiness, and they come to understand this through logic and so on. That understanding is the view, and that is very different from an imagination. So it's very important we understand this, the difference between understanding and imagination. And understanding leads to certainty, and certainty is the view. On the other hand, just to imagine something without understanding the reasons, just to imagine that something is emptiness, say, without knowing the reasons why things are emptiness, that is not the view. Absolutely not the view. So likewise, if we just think to ourselves, oh, everything is Buddha, water, fire, heat, cold, everything is Buddha, and we just tell ourselves this, we just try and imagine this, well, that is not the view, that is imagination. As I just explained, when we say all phenomena are Buddha, all phenomena are enlightened, well, this is a fact that is established both in the sutra teachings and also the tantric teachings. It is established with many different types of logic that we find in the sutra teachings and the tantric teachings. In this way, it is established without any doubt, in a logical manner, that all phenomena, without exception, are both in their essence and also in their appearance pure. All phenomena in essence and appearance are Buddha, are enlightened. And to understand the reasons for this, so to have an understanding, to develop an understanding of this is the view. To then meditate and familiarize ourselves with this understanding, with this reality, that is meditation. So I'll say that again. To develop an understanding of this is the view, and to then familiarize ourselves with this fact is meditation. Mipham Rinpoche said, and I mentioned this maybe yesterday or the day before, that to the extent that one has certainty in boundless purity, whether this certainty is developed through the study of the scriptures or whether it's developed through a more experiential approach, through gaining some recognition of the true nature, through pointing out instructions given by a teacher. In any case, however one's certainty is gained, to the extent that one has certainty in the truth of boundless purity, to that extent one's purification of negativity, one's accumulation of merit, and so on, and also one's development of realization will be that much faster, that much more effective. And this is the reason why study is so important. Without study, it is really not possible to engage in meditation. In any case, all of these points will be explained more below. So for these reasons, it is vital that we come to understand how and why it is that all phenomena are pure, all phenomena are enlightened. Otherwise, we won't be able to move beyond the level of imagination, just thinking, oh, everything is Buddha, everything is Buddha. But just thinking without understanding the reasons is not the view and won't really help. So again, these vital points are explained in the sutra teachings, in the vehicle of characteristics, and also in the tantric teachings. In both levels of teaching, all phenomena are established to be pure, to be boundless purity. To gain an understanding of this fact, of this reality, is called the view. So this is very important to understand, that this is what we mean by the view. The view refers to a mind of understanding, a mind of certainty, not merely imagination. Okay, now let's move on to look at the text. So, to clarify about where we are in the text, we have completed actually the section C, the method of the Great Perfection, which was comprised of two, the meaning or view and the method. We've completed that, and now we move on to the next subsection, a specific explanation of the avenues for applying the method. This comprises an explanation in terms of 4 methods, 4 kinds of realization, 3 characteristics, 4 branches, and the stages of entering the mandala. So the 4 kinds of realization are the method of the object defined as that which is characterized. So the 4 kinds of realization are the method of the object. Here, in terms of path, ground, path, and fruition, the 4 kinds of realization relates to the ground. These 4 kinds of realization are essentially 4 logical arguments. These are presented in Sangbap Gongyen, one of Lojin Dhamashiri's commentaries on the Guhyagapa Tantra, and likewise Durut Tembinima's Key to the Treasury commentary on the Guhyagapa Tantra. Each 4 of these logical arguments are presented with what we call the 3 modes. Anyway, we don't have time to go into such details, but these 4 realizations are the realizations or logical arguments establishing the fact that there is a single cause, realization by means of that there is a single cause, syllables, blessing, and direct realization. And these are defined as that which is characterized. The 3 characteristics are the method of skillful means. So the 3 characteristics are the view, the characteristic of knowing the cause, then samadhi, which is the characteristic of engaging in the condition, and actualization, which is the characteristic of the result, and these are defined as its characteristics. So we talk about that which is characterized, its characteristics, and so on. There's a lot to say about these technical terms, but anyway, the 4 branches of approach and accomplishment are the method of the result, defined as the pith instructions on consummation. So what's meant by consummation here? It means to rest evenly, to let be in meditative equipoise in the state of simplicity, to reach a level of consummation in that way. And then we have the method of entering the mandala of spontaneous presence. So why is this mandala described as that of spontaneous presence? Because in this mandala, the natural state, the innate condition, the enlightened state, is spontaneously present, meaning the 2 accumulations are originally perfected, the 2 obscurations are originally purified, and so on. The method of entering this mandala is defined as the entrance stage. What is meant by entering here? Well, it means, we could also say, a method for attaining. Attaining or entering the mandala of spontaneous presence. Okay, so the next few paragraphs I'm going to pretty much read straight through because all of this material will be explained in more detail later on. So, within these, the methods of the single cause and of syllables comprise the method of the object, realization through blessings is the method of skillful means, and direct realization is the method of the result. A similar classification applies to the 3 characteristics. The characteristic of knowledge is the method of the object, the characteristic of application is the method of skillful means, and the characteristic of the result is the method of the result. So this is about the 3 characteristics of view, samadhi, and actualization, right? Again, for the 4 stages of approach and accomplishment, the approach is the method of the object, the close approach and accomplishment comprise the method of skillful means, and the great accomplishment is the method of the result. Similarly, for the 3 stages of entering the mandala, spontaneous mandala, right? Opening the eyes by listening is the method of the object. So actually, it is really important. We do need to do some study. Otherwise, it is difficult to gain an understanding, to gain certainty in the truth of boundless purity, the fact that everything that appears and exists is pure. That said, when we say it's important to study, it doesn't necessarily mean studying for years and years, engaging in full-time and long-term study. Basically, we need to study until we gain certainty in the veracity of whatever we are practicing. So certainty meaning where we have complete conviction that what the teacher has taught is completely true. That said, this involves, we also need to check the teacher, right? We need to be careful what kind of teacher we follow. The teacher we study with should be both learned and experienced, learned and accomplished. Otherwise, if they're not, and if we fail to check a teacher before we follow them, we can end up being deceived, actually. Potentially, it's quite dangerous. But anyway, from a fit teacher, one option is to receive from a teacher who is fit to teach and in whom we have faith, some pith instructions, some concise, essential instructions. And if we can receive those and understand those, that's actually enough. No need to then go through all the labor of becoming a Khenpo or what have you. It's enough just to receive some essential instruction and understand it. That's one option. Another option is to engage in long-term formal study. This means studying month after month, year after year, for many years, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, to engage in formal study for that long, and by studying all the major scriptures and profound statements, then developing an understanding and real conviction in that way. So that's one approach. It's kind of challenging, more challenging, and it takes longer. But again, the other approach is to receive essential instructions from a teacher we have faith in, and to gain an understanding through those essential instructions. And that doesn't take very long at all, does it? It really could take no longer than 10 or 15 minutes, half an hour. But in any case, it is important to do some study such that we can gain certainty. Okay, so continuing with the text, entering the mandala by familiarization is the method of skillful means, and attaining the great accomplishment by realization through the power of familiarization is the method of the result. Having got this clear, so having summarized these and presented them clearly, we now come to the first of these. So the first is the 4 kinds of realization. Whereas the term perfection is used in reference to the fact that the 2 accumulations are perfect and complete, this perfection is not dependent on progress and training as in the case of the lower vehicles. So here we have an explanation of the term great perfection. First of all, the word perfection. It's used in reference to the fact that the 2 accumulations of wisdom and merit are naturally perfect and complete. They're not dependent on progress and so on, as in the case of the lower vehicles. Rather, the enlightened body, speech, and mind are spontaneously present from the very beginning as the qualities of the result, which is why the term great is used, because the qualities of enlightened body, speech, and mind are spontaneously present. So this is the meaning of the great perfection. The door and means for entering upon that state is the method, and for this it is necessary to acquire conviction through the path of the 4 kinds of realization. So the text continues. The 4 kinds of realization are described in the 11th chapter of the Root Tantra, the Buyagaba, as follows. A single cause, the method of syllables, blessing, and direct perception. With these 4 kinds of excellent realization, everything is the great king, manifestly perfect. Accordingly, these are the realization that there is a single cause, realization by means of syllables, realization through blessing, and direct realization. These 4 kinds of realization can be explained both for those who attain realization gradually and for those who do so instantly. So there's 2 ways to explain these, a gradual approach and an instantaneous approach. Here Mipham Rinpoche is taking the instantaneous approach. In other texts like Lojin Dhamashiri's Sangla Shelung, the words of Vajrapani, then we find a gradual approach, meaning each of these logical arguments, that of a single cause, syllables, blessing, and direct realization are explained one after the other. So there are four things, namely the unborn nature, unceasing display, inseparable essence, and defining characteristic, transcending conceptual mind. These 4 are the 4 things to be established, to be proved, and then the 4 realizations are presented as logical arguments to establish those 4 things. So that's how it's done in a gradual manner. But here, as we'll see below, we are taking the instantaneous approach, which is to say that one line of reasoning will be used to establish all 4 arguments. And indeed, Mipham Rinpoche says this here, right? He says, here, however, they're explained in accordance with those who attain the great perfection instantly by determining the soul essence, the self-arisen gnosis. In the first place, the realization that there is a single cause, that is, a single nature or basis, is that all phenomena on the ultimate level are unborn, and that they are therefore not different in terms of their unborn nature. So actually, this point I've already explained. I explained in quite a lot of detail in the previous sessions. So, all phenomena on the ultimate level are unborn. What is meant by unborn? Well, it means unborn means emptiness, simplicity beyond elaboration. All phenomena means samsara and nirvana, appearance and emptiness, good and bad, everything. Everything that can possibly exist. On the ultimate level is unborn. That being so, they are therefore not different in terms of their unborn nature. They are all equal, equally unborn, meaning equally emptiness, equally pure. Neither are appearances on the relative level distinct from each other, in that they have the character of magical illusions which are devoid of true existence. So yes, we might think, oh, ultimately things don't exist, but well, relatively things appear. Yes, relatively things appear, but these relative appearances are just illusions. They are completely devoid of true existence. Any attachment, any belief we might have in the reality of appearances, well, that is just our mistaken belief. That is our attachment, our mistaken reification. Relative appearances in and of themselves are void of reality. They are merely magical illusions. This is the accepted viewpoint common to the whole of the great vehicle. Despite the fact that it is unborn, that which is unborn appears like the moon reflected in the water as a whole variety of pure and impure causes, which are nevertheless able to perform their respective functions. So all of these points we have discussed in quite a bit of detail in the previous sessions, so I think you should know what these lines are talking about. And illusion-like appearance, even though it appears, is devoid of essential nature, unborn. Therefore, there is no separation between the relative and the ultimate. They are united. The realization that there is a single cause, self-arisen gnosis, is an extraordinary point proclaimed by the most profound scriptures. So, when we study the text like this, the Garland of views, this excellent great perfection teaching, if after studying it we still find ourselves with ordinary emotion, ordinary attachment, ordinary aversion, well then we have taken we've taken the wrong path. Then we are then we should understand that we are on the wrong path. We're moving in the wrong direction. If, in spite of having received such profound teachings, we are still immersed in ordinary emotion. What should the result of receiving a teaching like this be? Well, it should be that we no longer have ordinary emotion. Whatever emotion might arise in our mind, attachment, aversion, anger, jealousy, what have you, as soon as it arises, it is liberated. As soon as it arises through recognition, it is freed. Our mind becomes open and carefree, free and easy, expansive and spacious, just like the sky. If our mind becomes like that, if we become like that, then we can say we are on the path of the great perfection, we are practicing the great perfection. Otherwise, if we remain embroiled in attachment, aversion, jealousy, pride, and so on, fighting with people, getting into conflicts and so on, well then we might call ourselves a great perfection practitioner, but it is just words. It is just lip service, it's just a show. So, as it says here, the realization that there is a single cause, self-arisen gnosis, is an extraordinary point proclaimed by the most profound scriptures. So, with this, so the text continues. In short, the essential nature of bodhicitta, self-arisen gnosis, is the indivisible nature of appearance emptiness, and nothing in the whole of samsara and nirvana lies outside that single way of being, the single cause. So with this, we have finished discussing the single cause. Now the realization by means of syllables is as follows. This very nature of the inseparability of appearance and emptiness is also shown to be from the very beginning the enlightened state, the resultant qualities that are the enlightened body, speech, and mind. The unborn nature of all phenomena is realized as the nature of enlightened speech, symbolized by the letter A. That unborn nature which appears in the manner of magical illusions, capable of performing functions, is realized as the nature of the enlightened body, symbolized by the letter O, and so on. So here, when we speak of the realization by means of syllables, we're essentially talking about the syllable A. The syllable A is the expression of the unborn. And if we think about it, whichever language we might speak, every language stems from or is rooted in the sound A, right? Whether it be Tibetan or Chinese or English or whichever language, all sounds and syllables of that language are pervaded by A, right? Like if we think of Tibetan, we might say pa, ba, or any other letter, but all of those letters contain A, right? Likewise with English, A, B, C. All of those sounds contain the sound A, right? I don't know Chinese, so I can't give examples, but needless to say, the syllable A, the sound A, pervades all sounds in every language. What does A symbolize or express? Well, it expresses the unborn, meaning emptiness, the lack of reality, lack of true existence. And A is we can say, the root or the source of all languages. Like I said, whether it be English, Tibetan, Chinese, French, any other language, all of these languages are pervaded by A. All of these languages arise from A. So in the same way, just as the syllable A is the source of all other syllables and sounds, so too all phenomena are emptiness, and it is from emptiness that all manner of things appear. So mountains, houses, valleys, every single appearance we can think of that appears from emptiness, arises from emptiness, just like all sounds, without exception, arise from A. So what's being explained here is that the natural radiance or glow of A, or we could say of emptiness, is the enlightened body, speech, and mind. So as it says here, the unborn nature of all phenomena is realized as the nature of enlightened speech, symbolized by the letter A. So that's enlightened speech. That unborn nature which appears in the manner of magical illusions, capable of performing functions, is realized as the nature of the enlightened body, symbolized by the letter O. The awareness that realizes this, the illusory gnosis that is without center or circumference, is realized as the nature of the enlightened mind, symbolized by the letter Om. So we have enlightened body, speech, and mind, A, O, Ma, which combine to make Om, right? And then also these various sounds combine to make ka, ka, ga, and so on of the Tibetan alphabet, and we could say the same with other alphabets. So all of these different syllables, they arise out of A, right? Just like all appearances, all phenomena arise from emptiness. Furthermore, the wisdom of the primordial union of appearance and emptiness has never had any trace of something to be removed or added, and since it is by nature perfectly pure, samsara is primordially the great enlightened state, while its display abides from the very beginning as the three mandalas. It is this that is realized by means of syllables. Realization through blessing is the knowledge of the power and blessing of the first two kinds of realization. It is the knowledge and realization that just as the power to bless white cotton and make it red is present, for example, in Indian mudra, so too the power to bless all phenomena as being primordially enlightened derives from the fact of being blessed by the power of the realization that there is a single cause, and of the realization by means of syllables. So if you dye white cotton with if you take red cotton, and you apply a red dye to it, well, the white cotton will turn red, right? Indian mudra is the name of a red dye. So in this way, so too, the power to bless all phenomena as being primordially enlightened derives from the fact of being blessed by the power of the realization that there is a single cause, and of the realization by means of syllables. Of course, all phenomena are primordially enlightened, but the fact that they are so is not much help to those who do not have the two realizations. On the other hand, those who do have these two realizations appear to be benefited. Therefore, because it is by the power of these two realizations that all phenomena appear to be blessed as primordially enlightened, we speak of realization through blessing. Direct realization is as follows. Although in general we have direct perception through the sense faculties and so on, here it's a case of direct perception through the faculty of wisdom. So although in general we have direct perception, we can talk about different types of direct perception. The direct perception through the sense faculties, that's one type. Then direct perception of mind, direct perception of self-awareness, and direct perception of, you could say, yogins, or spiritual, yogic direct perception. These 3-4 types of direct perception. So although we have these different types of direct perception, here it's a case of direct perception through the faculty of wisdom, meaning yogic direct perception. The faculty of wisdom here, the faculty of prajna, what does this mean? Well, it's referring to the self-existing awareness, the self-arisen awareness that sees directly the nature of things, that sees directly the truth of dharmata. That's what we mean by the faculty of wisdom. And so it is the faculty, it's the direct perception through the faculty of wisdom, which should be understood as referring to discriminative wisdom. So just a note about the faculty of wisdom, as I just said, it refers to the awareness that directly sees the true nature of things, or dharmata, because if what is being seen is the true nature, namely the object of self-existing wisdom itself, well then the subject, the perceiving subject too, must be self-arisen, self-existing awareness, right, or self-existing wisdom. Okay, moving on. The fact that all phenomena abide primordially in the enlightened state does not in any way contradict the scriptures in which one has confidence, or the pith instructions of the lineage masters. So just going back, one more note about the faculty of wisdom, discriminative wisdom, and so on, where this line is referring then to the highest possible level of realization, ultimate consummate realization. The fact that all phenomena abide primordially in the enlightened state, this does not in any way contradict the scriptures in which one has confidence in. So what scriptures are we referring to? Well, scriptures like the Guhyagarbha Tantra, or namely the Guhyagarbha Tantra. It also does not contradict in any way the pith instructions of the lineage masters. So what's being said here is that when it comes to understanding this text, when it comes to understanding the meaning of the Guhyagarbha Tantra, this is not something that you can just read, and come to understand through reading, like other ordinary subject matter where you can just read a book and understand it in this way. Here you need to actually receive the teaching, receive the transmission of the teaching from a teacher, and you need to receive the instructions from the teacher, from the lineage masters too. So in my case, from whom did I receive these teachings? Well, I received Longchenpa's commentary on the Guhyagarbha Tantra, Dispelling Darkness in the 10 Directions, as well as this text, Garland of Views, from Khenpo Pedse Rinpoche, who was a great scholar, a great master, and he also came to Taiwan, actually. I also received these teachings from Khenpo Daze Rinpoche. Generally, I have so much faith and trust in the Guhyagarbha Tantra and those teachings. And a wonderful thing, wonderful occurrence was that last night, or I think the night before last, I had a really excellent dream. If I share this dream, you might think, oh, Rinpoche is just making things up or something. But anyway, I'll share my dream. I dreamt that I was on a mountainside, and there was a white tent was pitched. I went inside, and sitting there was Khenpo Chögyam Rinpoche, my guru. And I was so happy to see Khenpo Chögyam Rinpoche. I went to greet him and so on. And in front of him was a small bag, like a little pouch. I sat down in front of Khenpo Chögyam Rinpoche, and this pouch kind of ended up by my side, and I thought, oh, this must contain some blessings or something, some precious things of Khenpo Chögyam Rinpoche's. So I kind of eagerly opened the pouch and had a look inside, and inside were lots of tiny statues, beautiful blessed statues, and also lots of ring cell, lots of precious relics, lots of tiny, really precious blessed things. And I was so excited to see this. I thought, God, how wonderful wonderful. What an extraordinary blessing. And then it seemed like Khenpo Chögyal Rinpoche kind of turned into Khenpo Daze Rinpoche. And then I was speaking to Khenpo Daze Rinpoche, and it's funny. I guess what I was asking him was just kind of a reflection of my habits from when I, spent time with him in the past. I was saying to Khenpo Daze Rinpoche, Ken Rinpoche, is Longthol Nyima well educated? Longthol Nyima was one of Khenpo Daze Rinpoche's nephews. He used to be a monk, but now he's disrobed. Anyway, I was asking him this, and Khenpo Daze Rinpoche sort of turned to me and said, "What did you say?" And with a big smile on his face. And it was at that moment that I woke up. Anyway, I was so very happy to have that dream, and I thought it was a real sign of blessings, the blessings of the Guhyagaba Tantra, which we are currently looking at, right? Which we're currently studying. To be honest, 2 or 3 months back in Nepal, I had taught the Ngondro for 1 month, a whole month, and I didn't have a single good dream like this. But then, looking at studying the Guhyagaba Tantra these past few days, I had this wonderful dream. So I reckon that's the blessings of the Guhyagaba Tantra itself. So anyway, to say again, I received the pith instructions mainly from Khenpo Daze Rinpoche and Khenpo Chögyal Rinpoche, and I also received this specific teaching from Khenpo Phetse Rinpoche. Let's continue with the text. Just as one knows from burning, cutting and rubbing whether something is or is not gold, and whether it is good, flawless gold or flawed gold of poor quality, an analogous examination of the scriptures shows that on the whole they do not lead to confusion. And with regard to the various kinds of scriptures, ultimate, expedient, implied and indirect, confidence is gained by eliminating any flaws in these by means of the pith instructions. So what do we mean by ultimate, expedient, implied, and indirect? Well, these are different kind of categories of teachings. They are defined and explained in a lot of detail in the scriptures, especially in the introduction to the Middle Way, where Chandrakirti defines these. In short, to paraphrase the definition of ultimate and expedient, we could say that teachings that are of ultimate or definitive meaning are those that are not limited, not expedient, and not interpretable. They're not open to interpretation, whereas those that are expedient are limited and open to interpretation. That's just a loose translation of the actual definition. So even if one has the scriptures and instructions, one cannot, by simply following the sound of the words, put them into practice in the depths of one's mind. It is not enough just to take the scriptures like a book and read them. You need to receive transmission of those teachings. You need to receive guidance and teachings on them from a living teacher. You need to receive the pith instructions from a teacher, and you also need to have faith. The commentary continues, so it's not by relying merely on the words of the scriptures and pith instructions, but by gaining conviction in the very depths of one's mind through one's own awareness or discriminating wisdom that one attains direct realization. That is how you do it. What Padmasambhava is saying is that the scriptures give one an unmistaken understanding of the general points, while the pith instructions prevent one interpreting the intended meaning of the scriptures in any other way, and direct realization gained through wisdom enables one to dispel and resolve the weaknesses in merely listening and so on. So what's being said here? It's being said that it's not enough just to read these texts, read these scriptures like a book. You need to have the scriptures, but then you need to have the transmission, receive the transmission for them from a teacher. You also need to receive with instructions from a teacher, and from your own side you need sincere faith in the teachings. When all of these three come together, then you will be able to understand and realize the meaning of these scriptures, the meaning of these teachings. The conviction gained through the path in this way is the knowledge and awareness of the meaning of the 4 kinds of realization, which is the yogic path. This is not a question, as in the case of the vehicle of characteristics of Buddhahood being a result, produced from an earlier cause and dependent on time, occurring sometime in the future. Rather, one gains direct realization and conviction oneself right now through the faculty of wisdom. So how do we arrive at this direct realization? Well, first of all, we develop an understanding of the natural state of reality. We then deepen our understanding, bring it into our experience through practice, and that practice then leads us to direct realization.
Balong to buy, sipi sole,